the previous video, we looked at the idea of shalom. Shalom is the wholeness and completeness of life. It's life exactly the way God intended. So in this video, we're going to begin looking at Eden and see, what did God actually intend? What did God do for Adam and Eve to make them whole and complete? What did God do to give them this sense of shalom? So the first two things that I'll cover in this video really didn't surprise me much. First, God created the world. He created all the trees and plants. He created the animals. And he did all this as an artist, which we'll talk about later on in this whole thing. But for now, here's God making stuff. And he decides he's going to find some dirt. And he sculpts this dirt into the shape of a human being. Think clay, right? It's dirt, clay. That's where clay comes from. So here's God, the first ceramics project. And he sculpts Adam into the shape of a human being. But he's still just a lump of dirt. So God breathed his breath into Adam, and that lump of dirt became a living human being. Adam became alive. Without the breath of God, there's no life. So the first thing that makes Adam and Eve fully alive in Eden is the breath of God. Without that, life doesn't exist for at least humans. Human life doesn't exist. All right, so there's that. Then the second thing, this also didn't really surprise me too much. I was taught pretty much my whole Christian life, what God really desires is intimacy. We go to church, raise our hands, close our eyes, and sing, "It's just you and me, God." We look forward to going to heaven, where I'll be directly face-to-face with Jesus, and that's just some of what we look forward to. And it didn't surprise me to learn that that's there in creation. There's this intimate relationship between Adam and Eve and God. So here are Adam and Eve in the garden, and here's what's curious to me. You see this intimacy more clearly in the account of the fall than you do before the fall. Before the fall, you get bits and pieces of conversations between God and Adam and Eve. But after the fall, we get this whole scene of Adam and Eve sinning. Right? So God had said to them, "You can eat the fruit of any tree in this garden except that one." And of course, Adam and Eve said, "That one? Why not that one?" And the serpent came by, right? God was gone, the serpent's there, and the serpent tempted Eve. Eve took the fruit, ate it, handed it to Adam. Adam took it and ate it. And I picture it like this. They take a bite of the fruit, they chew it, they swallow it, and they turn to one another to say, "Oh, wasn't that You're naked." And, "I'm naked." Right? And they cover up. And the text says that they were ashamed. They found that they were naked and they were ashamed. Their eyes were opened. Something happened when they ate that fruit. Their eyes were open. They realized they were ashamed. Now, they covered themselves with fig leaves. They made these clothes out of fig leaves to cover themselves. Fig leaves, I'm told, are really itchy. They scratch. They can make you really itchy. And Adam and Eve were wearing this stuff as underwear. The effect of the fall right there. So here are Adam and Eve. They hide. And I don't think they were hiding from one another. They hid because they were naked and they were ashamed. But they do have fig leaves around them. And I really don't think they were hiding from one another. I think they were hiding either in the same spot or at least nearby each other. And if I'm right about this, why were they hiding? Well, here comes God. So here we are, nude, except for these fig leaves. We better hide because we're ashamed. And here comes God. And the text says this happened in the cool of the day. And it was the afternoon breeze. The word, the cool of the day in some translations can get translated the spirit of the day or the wind of the day or the afternoon breeze or something along those lines. It's literally the ruach of the day. And that Hebrew word can either mean wind or breath or spirit. It can mean any of those things. So it's the wind of the day. So in Israel, you have the Mediterranean on one side of you, this big, huge desert area on the other side. And in the afternoon, the sun starts to move across the sky and the temperatures change. And it's just enough to trigger this sort of scenario where the cool air and the warm air start interacting. And it creates this beautiful, cool breeze that just sweeps through the land in the middle of the afternoon. It's, when I was there, I spent 2 week to 10-day trips there. And both times it's like you can almost set your watch by that if you're out in the desert. It's just a beautiful thing. And the sense that I get from Scripture is that that's not just when God met them that day. It was almost the sense of every day at the cool of the day, every day during the afternoon breeze, God would kind of walk through the garden and they'd all hang out. And that's where I really get this sense of intimacy. And just as an aside, I was always taught that God can't be in the presence of sinful human beings. And yet, there he is. Adam and Eve sinned, and God shows up face to face with them and is right there talking with them face to face. So there's that intimacy. And that's one of the things that Adam and Eve had and cherished in Eden. That's one of the things that made them fully alive. Now, from my thinking as a Christian, I would have assumed that that's it. The breath of God is there, so they're alive physically, and then you have intimacy with God. What more could you possibly need? And I was really surprised to find that there are several other things that are vital to the shalom of Adam and Eve. Several other things that God designed and said, you need this to be fulfilled. So we'll continue with that in the next video.